The prison. In Xiachuang in Sichuan County, a man named Jia was killed on the road. The next night, his wife hanged herself. Jia's brother sued the county official. Fei Yizhi, from Zhejiang province, was in Sichuan for a county order to conduct an autopsy herself. He saw the dead man's baggage with more than $5,000 in his pocket and knew it wasn't money. The neighbors of the two villages interrogated them, got no clues, and did not beat them up, and released them back to the fields. He's just been ordered to keep a close watch and report back to him once in 10 days. After half a year, things started to loosen up. Jia's brother complained that Fei County was soft-hearted and had many screams in court. Since you can't point out who the murderer is, do you want me to torture people? Mr. Fei said angrily, give him a shout and kick him out. Jia's brother had nowhere to complain and angrily buried his brother's sister-in-law. One day, a few people were arrested in the county for tax evasion. One of them, Zhou Cheng, was afraid of being scolded and told the county order that the food had been prepared. I'll take the baggage out of my waist and hand it over to Fei County. After checking out the order, Fei asked him, where does your family live? The answer was, a village. Also asked, a few miles from Jia village? The answer was, 5 or 6 miles. Who is Jia who was killed last year? I don't know that person. You killed him and you said you didn't know him? Mr. Fei fumed. Zhou Cheng tried his best to defend Fei's insubordination and torture, and he confessed. It turned out that Jia's wife, Wang Shi, wanted to go to a relative's house, felt ashamed of having no jewelry, and called her husband to borrow it from a neighbor's house. The husband refused. The wife borrowed it herself. She was so precious that on her way back, she took her jewelry off her head and put it in her baggage and tucked it into her cuffs. When I got home, I touched my hand, and my jewelry was gone. Wang's, too afraid to tell her husband, can't repay her neighbors, much to her chagrin. On this day, Zhou Chengsheng picked up the jewelry and knew that Jia's wife had lost it. After Jia went out, Zhou climbed over the wall in the middle of the night and tried to blackmail Jia and his wife with jewelry. It was hot. Mr. Wang was sleeping in the yard, and Mr. Zhou quietly approached her and raped her. Wang woke up and shouted. Zhou was so quick to stop that he left a baggage and gave her the jewelry. When it was over, Wang ordered, don't come back. My man is fierce. Let him know. You and I will die. I've given you enough to buy a brothel for a couple of nights. Can I just do this once to pay for it? Mr. Zhou fumed. It's not that I don't want to be with you, Wang said. My man is always sick, so just wait for him to die. Zhou Cheng left, so he killed Jia, and then came to Wang's house at night and said, now that your man has been killed, please do as you say. Mr. Wang burst into tears. Mr. Zhou fled, fearing to alarm his neighbors. After tomorrow, Wang died too. Fei County ordered the investigation to find out the truth and to incriminate Zhou Cheng. Everyone admired Fei's ruling, but somehow they could tell the reason for it. It's not difficult. It's just to be on the lookout. At the time of the autopsy, I saw Bao Yinzi's baggage embroidered with 10,000 words. Zhou's baggage, too, came from one person. When interrogating him, he said that he did not know Jia before, and he was lying about it. He's in a bad state, so I know he's the real killer. There's a village in Sichuan called Hecheng that shares Feng'an's heritage. The Hu family and their son were very bullying, and Feng Ang dated him, but the Hu family never trusted him. One day, when they were drinking together and getting slightly drunk, the two men said something heartfelt. Don't worry about poverty, boasts Mr. Hu. It's easy to get all the silver in your pocket. Feng thinks Hu Cheng is not rich and is bragging about it, deliberately laughing at him. To tell you the truth, I met a big businessman yesterday on the road, with a lot of belongings in his car, and I threw him into a dry well in Nanshan, Mr. Hu said solemnly. Mr. Feng mocked him again. At the time, Hu Cheng had a brother-in-law named Zheng and Tu Ha Cheng said that he had purchased farmland and deposited hundreds of coins at Hu Cheng's home. Then Hu Chengfu came out and showed off in front of Feng An, who believed it. After the breakup, Feng An secretly wrote a note to Shanya. Fake Shenling arrested Hu for questioning, and Hu told the truth. Well, Fake Shenling asked Zheng and the proprietor, saying so. So I went to see Nanshan Mountain. An obedient officer hanged himself with a rope and found a headless body in the well. Mr. Hu was so taken aback that he could not explain himself, only shouting his grievances. Fei County was angry, and the victim clapped dozens of times, saying, "The evidence is clear." And the grievance? He was locked up with the death penalty. But they won't let the body come out. They'll just tell the villages and let the owner report it. One day later, a woman came to court with paper and claimed to be the wife of the deceased, saying, "My husband, He Jia, left the house with hundreds of silver coins to do business, and was killed by Hu Chang." Fei Xianling said, "There are dead people in the well, but they don't have to be your husband." The woman insisted. Fei County ordered the body out of the well. When everyone saw it, it was a woman's husband. The woman was afraid to come up and stand in the distance and cry. "The real killer has been captured, but the body is incomplete," Fei said. "You go back for a while, find the head of the deceased, and immediately issue a public verdict, and let Hu Chang die." Then he summoned Mr. Hu from prison, shouting, "If you don't hand over your head tomorrow, break your leg. Tell the court to escort him out. Come back one day, ask him. He's just howling." Fake Xian ordered the serviceman to toss the weapon in front of him, as if he were about to be tortured, but did not commit the crime, saying, "Presumably you were carrying the body that night in a hurry and didn't know where you were going. Why don't you look for it?" Hu Chang begged the prefect for permission to look again. "How many children do you have?" the governor asked the woman. The answer was, "No." County governor asked, "What are He Jia's relatives?" "There's only one cousin." "How can you live in such a poor and lonely situation?" the county said ruefully. "When you die young." The woman cried again, asking for mercy from the governor's kowtow. "The crime of homicide has been decided. Just look for the whole body and the case is over," the order said. "When the case is over, you'll have to change your marriage. You're a young woman. Don't go in or out of the gate." The woman was moved to tears and kowtowed off in court. The order immediately ordered the villagers to look for the head of the government. After one sleepover, there was the same village, Wang Wu, who claimed to have found it. The court ordered the interrogations to be examined and offered him $1,000. He Jia's cousin was handed over to the court and said, "A major case has been found. But the human life is so serious that the case cannot be closed within 1 year. Since your nephew has no children, a young widow is struggling to live, so let her marry earlier. There will be nothing else. Only when your boss reviews it, you have to answer." He Jia's cousin refused, and Fei Gong threw down 2 execution signatures from Tang, and then argued again, and threw down another signature. Uncle was scared, so he had to back off. The lady heard the news and went to court. Shane. Fei's order reassured her, and it said, "Anyone who wants to buy this woman, report it on the spot." When the woman leaves the hall, one of the marriages turns out to be the 5th prince who has found the head. The county order summoned the woman to the court and said, "The real murderer. Do you know who?" The woman replied, "Hu Chang." "No. You and Wang Wu are the real culprits," the county chief said. The people were shocked, defended and screamed innocence. "I already know the details," the county chief said. "The reason that I've been here is that I'm afraid of spoiling good people." "How can you be sure it's your husband if the body didn't get out of the well?" "That's because you knew your husband had died in the well before. What's the point of getting hundreds of silver dollars from a man who was wearing ragged clothes when he died? Where's the head? How do you know so well? The reason you are so desperate is to marry this woman sooner." They were terrified of the lowest of their faces and could not speak a word. "Come on." Fei revealed his true feelings by torturing the 2 men. It turns out that Wang Wu had been in personal contact with his wife for a long time, and that they conspired to murder her husband. It happened that Hu Chang joked that he had killed a man, but the 2 of them wanted to blame Hu Chang. Mr. Hu was released by Mr. Fei's decree. Feng Yan was sentenced to 3 years of hard labor after beating a board with a false accusation. Until the end of the case, the Fei County order did not sentence anyone.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.